This is Mike Brewer behind the wheel. Automotive news, automotive advice, and tyre smoking fun. Join me, the Brit with the wit, and my car-loving co-host, Brad Fanshaw. Hello everyone, it's Mike Brewer behind the wheel, and I'm looking forward to taking you on a journey of motoring, expertise, fun, facts, and all the stuff that we embrace ourselves with, this wonderful hobby that we love, the classic car and motoring world. Now, together, we are going to go down this journey, but the man who always grabs the passenger door, and I do like travelling with him because he's always got the best snacks, he always shouts shotgun whenever I'm hitting the road, is my passenger, and he seems very willing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brad Fanshaw.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm all right, Brad. Yeah, ready for the journey?
I am. I'm always looking forward to these because you take us to the best places.
Anyway, let's hit the road.
Let's go.
So then, Brad, you're going to strap yourself in. You ready?
I am.
Good. And we've got a little passenger beside you today. He's lovely.
A little furry passenger right here.
We've got George. We've got a dog on the road.
George the dog.
George the dog is on the road with us today. So if you hear a yelp or a bark or even a little fart in the background, don't look at me and Brad. It will be George, won't it, George?
He's like, yeah, don't bother me. I'm comfortable right now.
He's actually really comfortable, snuggled up on the passenger seat of this ride. Well, let's hope he enjoys what we're going to talk about, because today it's our 13th podcast, Brad.
That's kind of scary.
Well, 13 can be scary. It depends whether you are superstitious or not. Do you know what the fear of 13 is called?
You mean there's actually terminology for it?
Yeah, there's actually a name for the fear of 13. And it is, you ready for this? It's trichoscophobia.
Easy for you to say.
I know, it's like you can go to the doctors and get a cream for it. You have to rub it in 13 times. It's trichoscophobia. That's actually a thing. Lots of people are very superstitious about 13. We're going to be talking about those, the superstitions, in cars. You know, superstitions in cars. That's what we're going to be talking about. Do you have any superstitions in a car?
I do. You know, it's. I think it started when I had my first car, because I don't know if it was a superstition or if it was just something that I thought I had to do, because one time my car wouldn't start. So after that, every time I turned it once to accessory, twice to accessory, and then I started it, and it started every time. Whenever I didn't, so that could have been an electrical problem or a superstition.
Really?
But it worked every time.
So you don't still do that today, though, do you?
No, not today.
You don't get into a car and turn the ignition on and off 3 times.
No, that would be called something else. That would
be OCD.
I was going to say.
That's what
that'd be called OCD. Yeah. I'd have to have license plates that said OCD on them.
Yeah, you would do. Yes. I don't. You know, I don't have any superstitions. I don't get in the car left foot first or right foot first, or back myself into it, or touch my seatbelt, rub the steering wheel. I don't do any of those things.
Not even when you race?
No, when it's funny because I know a lot of race drivers, and we're going to be talking about them.
Yeah.
You've got some real crazy superstitions, and you're going to be revealing a few of them in NASCAR as well, which I'm excited about. But let's start it off with this is our 13th podcast, and haven't we come a long way?
I know, 13 already. It doesn't seem like we. It seems like we just did the first one.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? And it's been so successful. Number one motoring podcast across the world. So thank you very much for all your support, everyone, for doing that. We absolutely love doing it, me and Brad, and we want to thank you. We should have had done what hotels and buildings do and just had the 14th podcast and skipped 13 altogether, shouldn't we?
Well, remember we closed out the last episode and I said, should we just go to 14? And we both agreed, let's talk about superstition. And you know what? Maybe it'll be lucky 13. It'll be our biggest listenership ever. Everything.
I got a funny feeling it might be.
I think
because they're going to get filled with facts, these people today, and we're just going to cruise them down the road, and we're just going to fill their brain with loads of superstitious facts about driving your car.
Hey, before we get into that, would you mind? Can I tell you about driving that Ferrari?
Oh, please, go on. Hold on. Let me just sit back in my chair and just enjoy this moment, because you come down to see me the other day driving the Ferrari, and you looked like every inch a zillionaire until you got out of the car.
Until I got out of the car,
Oh, it's just Brad.
Just Brad.
It looked amazing. It sounded awesome as well, so tell us about it.
Well, I want to tell you, this was the Ferrari GT4C Lusso T. So an offshoot of the FF, which they came out with, several years ago. Now, when you saw the first FF, Mike, what did you think?
A lot of people didn't like it, but I like a shooting brake. I think they look amazing. The FF, I thought the shape, the lines. I've always been a fan of cars like the BMW M3 Coupe, which has got that sort of shooting brake look to it as well. And when the FF come out, I just thought it was wonderful. I thought it was a glorious thing. And who wouldn't want a Ferrari you can put your golf clubs in the back of?
Exactly. And I was kind of the same way. I was up in Monterey. I saw it, and I wasn't entirely turned off. Like a lot of people have, screamed, "Oh, why'd Ferrari ever make that car?" But I was sold the minute I drove it. Getting behind the wheel, you forget what the exterior looks like. And now they've refined the exterior even more with the Lusso. It's gorgeous.
Oh, stunning.
And the way the headlights turn with the steering wheel.
It's amazing.
It is a true touring car that, like you said, and I really put it through its paces, because not just on the performance side, but I said, I want to figure out, I have this car for a week, I want to find out if I was a gazillionaire and could afford a $350,000 daily driver, what would it be practical? It is.
Yeah.
It is.
You can drive those things at 30 miles an hour or 130 miles an hour, can't you? They're really good. They're clever.
Going down the freeway, it was like driving a BMW or a Mercedes or anything in comfort mode.
Oh, the people back at Fiorano now will be spitting their coffee out when they hear you say that. It drives like a BMW or a Mercedes.
I didn't say it drives like. I said you could be in it. But then you look at the interior, the fit, the finish, the quality, the stitching. It was gorgeous. And the other thing that was great about it was I went to the grocery store and I picked up some groceries and I loaded up the back. Everything fit fine.
Yeah. Can I ask you, it could be a superstition thing here, actually, that I do have. When you went to the grocery store, now I got a thing, right? When I go to the grocery store, the car parks here, or parking lots, are gigantic.
Yes.
Right, in America. And when I go, I always park as far away from the grocery store. A, because I like to walk to the shops. You don't do that in America. B, I don't want anyone knocking against my car. I just don't, right? I don't want anyone opening the door against my car. So I always go and choose a big empty spot. Every single time I do that and I come back from a grocery store, somebody's parked right next to me. Right there. They can choose any spot in the parking lot, anywhere else, but they park in the spot right next to me. And it's a bit of a superstition thing, I think, because I'm going, why? Why? You could park anywhere else. Why park there? Why park there and open your door onto my door? Did when you parked it in the car park, did you come back and people were parked right up against you?
There were usually people standing around looking at it.
Yeah, taking pictures.
And yes, there was one time I went to the store. I parked it all the way out, like you said. I come back, nobody else around it except for one car parked right next to me. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I parked out here for a reason.
What is going on?
But the other thing you got to be careful of at those places is that you park up the grade, because you know how parking lots are always graded so that the water runs down?
Yep.
So do the shopping carts.
Yes, always run down into the cars.
Yes.
The last thing you want at your Ferrari FF Lusso is some scratch down the side. But basically, if you left your car in a parking lot in the UK, somebody's going to scratch it anyway with a key, because they're just
really?
jealous. Yeah, they'll be jealous that you've got a Ferrari. It's terrible.
So in summation, performance was just
0 to 60
unbelievable. 3.5 seconds.
Shut up. 3.5 seconds.
3.4 with the V12.
Oh,
so the difference between the V8 and the V12 is not even, it's negligible.
I'd have the V8. Oh, lovely.
I know.
Then some people say a Ferrari isn't a proper Ferrari unless it's got a V12 up front.
Well, I will have to say that until you hit 5,000 RPM, you get it up on that band, it doesn't sound as much like a Ferrari.
Right.
You know, you want it to be, that crisp Ferrari sound. Yeah, exactly. You don't get it till 5,000 RPM. But the difference is $80,000 between the V12 and the V8.
Yeah.
You have the V8 car is rear-wheel drive, but because it's a GTC4, which means it's four-wheel steering. The V12 is all-wheel drive and four-wheel steering.
Wow.
And then the T is twin turbo.
Wow.
So you do hear those turbos wind up. So you've got a great-looking car. You've got a great interior, fantastic handling, and it has all of the accompaniments that a modern car has with its Bluetooth and everything like that. But I'll tell you one quick little story about it before we move on.
You've got it outside, and I've got it for the next few days.
Well, Ferrari said I was such a great ambassador that they said, Brad, just keep it.
Wouldn't that
No, wouldn't that be nice? They told me that if I could tell them why in 60 words or less in fluent Italian, that I could keep, but I couldn't.
Do you know, I won a journalist award once for writing a piece about a Ferrari, and I won a journalist award for it, and I only wrote 2 words, and the whole column. I wrote a 600-word column, but only wrote to work that out.
Was one of them Bella?
No, I wrote the words. I was out in Italy testing the Ferrari 360 Modena. And I was very late to post my weekly column up. And the editor phoned me and said, you need to post your column now. And I said, OK, I'll just type something on my phone and get it across to you. So I sat in the car on my phone and I typed in WHO. 600 words worth of O's, AH, exclamation mark, 360. So when you read it, it just said, whoa, 360. And it looked very odd when you see that in type. It stood out on the page, and it was quite clever. And they run it. They run that as a column. And I won an award for that thing, and I thought it was the easiest thing I've ever written.
Exactly, yeah.
And I won an award. And those cars can make you feel like that. So what a ride! What a ride you had, Brad.
So my last story. It's a parking lot story, like we talked about. Tell you really quick. It was a Sunday night. I had something on the barbecue, shish kebabs, one of your favorites, and Charlotte had made these great shish kebabs. She goes, no, we have plenty of propane in the grill, right? Of course we do. Put them on. 10 minutes later, poof. So I go, I'm going to run up to the store, exchange it, get a new propane tank. And I said, wait a minute. They say this is the everyday Ferrari. Put the empty propane tank securely in the back.
Oh, they rattle around those big heavy things.
It didn't, though. It was perfect because it was just wide enough in that area where it just kind of sat in there. I, of course, put a couple towels. Didn't want anything to get broken or damaged. And I shoot up to the hardware store, do the exchange of my tank. Of course, like any Ferrari owner, I had to put the key fob down as I paid for it, so that they could see that I was driving a Ferrari on a Sunday evening.
I mean, when I see you had your Ferrari shirt on, your Ferrari baseball cap, you were, hey, everybody, look at me and my car.
Look at me, I'm in my Ferrari.
In my Ferrari.
So I'm walking out, and this is not a story. I'm walking out, and there's a gentleman out there taking a picture of the car with his wife in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I come walking. I'm carrying the tank, and he looks at me, and he goes, hey, are you Brad Fanshaw?
Oh, really?
And I said,
what?
I looked around. I said, where's Mike? He's pulling my leg here. and I looked around. Nobody's laughing or snickering. And I go, I am? And he goes, I should have known. Brad Fanshaw's driving a Ferrari, getting a tank of propane on a Sunday night, and he goes, I told my wife, I wonder who's driving the Ferrari. And then I saw you walking across, and I shook his hand, and I said, where do we know each other from? And he goes, well, we've never met. And he goes, but we're in the same car club. And I said, oh, really? And the motion picture television car club up in L.A. And he goes, this is just a great story. I'm going to go home and tell everybody. I saw Brad Fanshaw getting propane, using a Ferrari. And I turned around and I said, well, they say it's the Ferrari you can drive every day. So, see, I gave Ferrari this fantastic message right there in the parking lot of the hardware store.
Fantastic. How good is that?
It was awesome.
It was awesome. Well, I'm very jealous. You've had a couple of nice cars for your hands recently.
Well, you're driving something pretty exciting this week, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I've got may have a car on its way to me this week. Goes by the name of McLaren. And
man,
720S. So he's on his way to me sometime this week. We're going to do a whole podcast from the car.
Yeah.
If we can do it over the sound of the engine. But me and you are going to go for a run up and down the PCH, and we're going to talk about that car and talk about supercars in that episode. So I'm really looking forward to it.
With that car, it might be just like your column you just talked about. It might just be us going,
whoa! It will be that. Right, so Superstitions then, you drove the Ferrari around, you parked it at the edge of a car park, you come out and still somebody was there. Have you ever been in one of those hotels where you get in a hotel and notice on the lift, we call them lifts, you call them elevators, but in the lift there's no 13th button.
Yes, especially in Asia.
Yeah, no 13 at all.
Never a 13th.
Yeah, it's funny. It wasn't. I only learnt that very late in life. I only learnt that about, maybe 20 years ago. That somebody said, "Have you never noticed that buildings don't have a floor 13?" And I went, "No, I didn't notice." And then when you notice it, you can't unnotice it. It's every time I get into an elevator or a lift, I always look for floor 13. And some hotels have them, but on the majority, they just don't. They just don't have them. More buildings, they just don't.
It's funny you said that, and I was going to say it right as it was coming out of your lips. I was going to say, I didn't learn that till recently. Good thing we didn't, because I don't know in England, but over here, if two people say the same thing simultaneously, have you ever heard that?
No, it's deja vu. Or
no,
something.
they both they look at each other and say jinx.
Yeah, I think we do that in England. Jinx, yes.
And I was going to say, here
Jinx.
we're doing the superstition thing.
Yeah,
I almost said it at the same time. We would have had to say jinx.
Things could be quite creepy today. Things might happen that we aren't expecting to happen. I mean, for one, we've got George sat beside us today, the dog, and
giving himself a bath.
He is giving himself a bath. He's, I love the way dogs can lick that area. You'd never leave home, would you? Anyway, so there you go. 13. How about this? This is a nice little one for you people out here in the colonies, the United States of America. There were 13 original colonies in the United States. And because of the 13 original colonies, the first US flag had 13 stripes and 13 white stars. Did you know that?
I did. We learned that in school.
Oh, you do? And there's 13 stars on the Great Seal of the United States.
Now, that one I knew, but I forgot it, and now I've remembered it.
Yeah, now you remembered it. And feel free, you people out there who are listening, if you've got any superstitions, even though it's, in podcasts 14, 15, 16, tell us about them, and me and Brad are reading.
Yeah, we'll mention them for sure.
Mention them. So we've done some research on superstitions. This first one's a bit of a doozy, isn't it?
What? I'm holding my breath.
I know. So there you go. It is a bit of a doozy. Holding your breath. Do you hold your breath when passing a graveyard or travelling through a tunnel? Although this is done for many reasons, including granting wishes and avoiding disturbing the dead, it's common practice that drivers and passengers follow without knowing why. Do you hold your breath when you go under a tunnel?
I've never heard that one
Could you
before.
try it through the Mont Blanc tunnel? You'd be dead at the end.
I was going to say, isn't it a little dangerous because if you get a little lightheaded when you're driving and you go through the tunnel? But, there's a lot of superstitions with tunnels and graveyards especially.
I do have one. And this has just reminded me of one. And actually, it's a really weird superstition. Do you know what a monkey puzzle tree is?
No, I've never heard of a monkey puzzle tree.
A monkey puzzle tree is a tree that's got spindly branches that are kind of spiky, spindly branches.
Okay.
And they grow in sort of weird shapes. And they look like a monkey puzzle. So if you get those little monkeys with their curly tail when you were a kid, the plastic ones, and you tip a box out and you hang their tails on each other, it looks chaotic. That's what a monkey puzzle.
A bucket of monkeys or whatever it was.
Bucket of monkeys, that's it.
Yeah.
That's why it's called a monkey puzzle tree. And when I was a kid, somebody said never talk when you're passing a monkey puzzle tree. And I don't believe in superstitions, but for some reason that's one that I always adhere to. Whenever I see one, I shut up, which is impossible for me. But I shut up. I wondered why they've just put one in the studio where I work. A monkey puzzle tree. Yellow lights. Here we go. Here's another one. After practice that's done for a number of different reasons, some drivers tap the ceiling of their car if they drive through an intersection when the traffic light is yellow, or they even kiss their hand before doing so. You ever done that?
I haven't. And it's another one that I hadn't heard when we were looking through all these, Mike. I was like, I can envision it, though. I've seen people tap the top of their roof, like in their car for various reasons. And it kind of goes back to that thing where when you say something that hasn't happened, like, I haven't gotten a speeding ticket in 5 years. What do you say? You go,
touch wood.
Knock on wood. So it kind of goes to that type of a thing, you know?
Yeah, I've never done it. I didn't even know that was a thing until I read it. But now...
How about kissing your hand?
Damn you, Brad.
Now you're going to have to do it.
I'm going to have to do it now. And now when I go through an intersection, I'm either going to have to tap the ceiling or kiss the back of my hand. I'm going to look like some lunatic driving down the street.
Well, here in California, the way people run yellow lights,
oh my God,
we'd see people tapping the top of their roof all the time.
Me and Michelle yesterday were on the PCH behind some guy in a beaten up Honda Civic. This guy was a crazy. He was hanging out he was no hands on the wheel. He was hanging out the door. He was smashing on the ceiling. He was the car was going all over the place for mile upon mile, and people were trying to avoid him. And I was thinking, God, this guy's going to kill somebody. But you don't want to do anything just in case he pulls a gun and kills me. So I didn't mention it. I just Michel kept saying, keep your distance, look away. So let's move on to the next one. Loose change. The act of car coining.
I didn't know it had a name, but I've known people that have done this.
Okay, car coining, not car cloning.
Not cloning.
Coining is common amongst certain areas of the East Coast where people, including the owner, family or friends, toss coins onto the floor of a brand new car to give the driver good fortune. Did anyone come up to you and throw some coinage in your Ferrari?
They didn't.
No, because they was already thinking, and if they didn't throw in anything of paper value, you wouldn't be interested anyway. It's a Ferrari. They should come up and chuck in $100 bills.
I want some paperage, not some coinage.
Coinage, exactly, $100 bills. If somebody come up and threw a quarter in the footwell of my car, or 10 pence in the footwell of my car, so pick it up. That's what I would say.
Now, see, on the East Coast of the states here, we have many, many toll roads. Not like out here on the West where it's all free roads. So on the East Coast, I honestly thought people had change floating around all over their car because they were always having to pay tolls, and it just threw it on the floor. But I actually found out from a guy years and years ago from New Jersey. I said, I picked up some change off his car and put it in his center console. He goes, "What'd you do that for?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "No, that's for good luck." And I went, "What?"
What?
And that's what it would. They throw a little bit of change under the seat, and it's supposed to give them good luck. I had never heard that.
All that's going to do is rattle around on the floor, just drive me nuts.
I know, but I mean,
But me and Brad are quite happy if people want to come up to our cars and throw some coin in.
If they want to throw money in our windows, that's no problem whatsoever.
Love it. Yeah, I love that. Coinage in the car. So
Coinage.
Car coining. Right, green cars. Now, do you have a favourite colour of car? Do you go, I'm going to order myself my new Ferrari FF. What colour are you going to order?
It's probably going to be black.
Right, so black is your favourite colour.
I like black cars.
Yeah, black. Okay, well, that's good. Green cars. Over the centuries, green has been considered an unlucky colour in Western culture, believing the shade of malicious spirits looking to do you harm. The idea now applies to green cars. But saying that, have you seen this new... I was behind one of these Mercedes GL 450 things the other day, and it was in this really funky green colour.
Like a bright lime green?
Yeah, and it was wicked. I thought, wow, look at that.
Well, how about those Mopars, those Hellcats and like
brilliant.
that?
They're great colours. So I wouldn't be put off buying a green car or painting the car green. I have done. I painted many cars green. So green is not a problem for me, but some people feel that green is an unlucky colour.
Especially race car drivers.
It's funny, isn't it? Because green is also associated with Ireland. And Ireland is considered to be lucky. Oh, it's the luck of the Irish.
Exactly, yeah, luck of the Irish.
The luck of the Irish there. Here you go, look at your little green car. You wouldn't consider it to be an unlucky colour.
And what about British racing green?
Oh, yeah, British racing green.
I mean, that's just associated.
Of course it is. And how many races have they won? So they're not unlucky, are they?
Now, do you know why racers feel that it's unlucky?
Go for it.
So it roots back to the 1930s. Maybe even before that, like 1911. And what happened was there was a succession of racers that died, and they were driving green cars.
Right.
One of them was the co-founder of Chevrolet, and so drivers just kind of said, hey, we're pushing it already. Let's not take our chances.
Just don't want to
no more green cars. But I remember that as a kid, as a teenager, going out to the stock car races, and I asked my dad, first time I ever heard it is I said, hey, Dad, there's no green cars. He goes, oh, no, they never race in green cars because it's unlucky. And I was like, wow, really?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? And all it was is probably Chevrolet back then just had loads of extra green paint.
It was,
simple as that.
Well, no, they didn't have any green paint. It was too expensive.
Right. I like this one. This next one. Bird poop.
Bird poop.
Yeah. Some people consider bird pooping on their car is a sign of good fortune and wealth from the heavens rather than a messy piece of crap that's going to ruin your car's finish. Now, it's funny because in England, if somebody if a bird poops on you, or you're standing next to somebody and they get bird poop on them, you go, that's really lucky. It's really lucky. You done the lottery this week because you've just had a bird poop on you. I think that's the most unlucky thing when a bird poops on you. And, you know, some people consider it lucky when there's bird poop on their car. If there's a bird poop on my car, I go crazy.
Me too, because I'm thinking, I've got to get somewhere and get that off before it stains my car, my paint.
It does. It's got acidics in it and all kinds of nastiness in it. And it can really ruin your car if you don't get it off.
And it reminds me of a joke that I heard when I was a kid. It's a very simple joke.
Yeah.
There was a flock of birds flying over a parking lot.
Yeah.
And the one looked at the other one, and he said, hey, look at that red Porsche down there. And the other bird looked at him and goes, yeah, I spotted that one yesterday.
No, that's good, Brad.
You like that one?
That was good. I liked it. I liked it. Right, number 13. Everyone knows to believe that the number 13 is unlucky, and that sentiment has influence on our travel habits. Many people believe that Friday the 13th is an unlucky day to drive, even having inaccurate reputation of being exceptionally dangerous day to drive, and some refuse to purchase new cars on that day or drive on roads that have 13 in their name. Most race car drivers avoid having the number 13 on their car. That's a good one. Do you know what? Until I read that, I didn't even notice that there was no number 13 racing drivers. I bet, you know, if you was going to be a racing driver going into the world of motor racing today, Formula One or whatever, and you wanted to send a message out to the rest of the paddock to say, I mean business and don't mess me, I'd put 13 on my car. And I'd have a black car, Brad Black, because you like black cars.
With a skull and crossbones?
Skull and crossbones, black overalls, black crash helmet with skull and crossbones on it, and just be number 13.
Be Mike Brewer, the pirate of racing.
And people would just get out your way, wouldn't they? Because they'd be like, this guy means business. He's kind of intimidating. So 13 is up for grabs in race car worlds. Racing rituals. Now, this guy, Antanstead, that I make a car show with, he will not step onto a football pitch unless he goes left foot first. He puts his left sock on first, left boot on first. When he gets into a car to drive, he puts his left shoe on first. When he's basically only wants to go around circuits that have got left turns in them as well. So he's got many rituals to racing and to. Do you have anything like that?
Well, when I used to race, I used to have a thing, drag racing. And you have the burnout box in drag racing. I would pull my drag car in, and I would roll through the water and then back into it. Because whenever I pulled in and did like the burnout where you hit the gas as you're going through it, I always broke something.
Gotcha.
So I said, the one time I didn't do that, I backed into it. I didn't bring anything. So that's the way I did it every time.
Every time.
But I did know a guy that was a race car driver, and he, you know how they spit in their goggles to keep them from fogging up?
Yeah.
He would not do it once he was sitting in the car. If he forgot to do it, he would unstrap, get out of the car, spit in the goggles, and then get back in.
No way.
And he was an IndyCar driver, a very famous IndyCar driver, because he said, nope, I got to get back out. And his team would be like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Really?
You know?
But
yeah.
how crazy. I know a racing driver, I won't name him for shame and embarrassment, who pees in every car he races.
Well, doesn't everyone?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But I remember he did Le Mans once, and he peed in the car just before the driver change. And the next driver getting in knows, that he's got a reputation for doing it. And when nutballs it, and he had no choice but to climb in the car and sit on it.
Sit in the puddle.
And carry on. Some drivers, some race car drivers, you may see them wearing different colour racing shoes.
Yeah.
They put two different racing shoes on. I do that. I wear two different colour shoes.
I've seen you do that.
Yeah, I do that. And we've got some amazing shoes from a great company called Hunziger. Okay, Nicholas Hunziger is a fine artist in the automotive world, and he's got this amazing product range, including these amazing Hunziger shoes. He has golf shoes, Lotus shoes, Martini shoes, Steve McQueen shoes. They're really cool. They're like driving shoes. And I've been doing some work with Nick, so I've got some shoes off of him. And because they're the same style but different colours, I just started to put odd colour shoes on. I had Lotus on one foot and Porsche on another foot. And people go, I really like that. So that's the thing. And do you know what?
He didn't pee in them, did he?
Nicholas, no, I hope not. I hope not. I've seen him drink, Nicholas. The last thing I want is somebody's peeing my shoe. Nicholas is such a nice guy, and his shoes are so amazing. So go and look them up at hunzigerdesign.com. He has very kindly, Brad, said that he loves our podcast, and he's going to give a pair of his shoes away to anyone who subscribes and likes and gives us a quote or a review of what they think of our podcast, and we are going to pull a lucky name, should I say, out of the hat. So anyone who wants to go online, subscribe, like our podcast, give us a 5-star rating if you can, and then tell us what you think of it. We're going to look through those remarks, and me and Brad are going to judge them, and then we're going to pull out a name, and somebody's going to get a free pair of Hunziger sneakers.
So all they have to do is go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, subscribe, and give us a positive review. One of them will be chosen between now and the next show. And then on the next show, we'll
call them out.
On show 15, we'll do it. That'll give me enough time to get everything on the back office
How
stuff.
good is that? And these shoes are mega expensive. They're very nice.
Yeah.
And they're pretty cool. And everyone wants the golf ones because they look amazing.
Yeah.
The blue with the orange stripe. Free pair of shoes.
Awesome. That's great.
It's great, isn't it?
So everybody go to iTunes, subscribe, 5-star rating, and leave a great comment, and maybe you'll win a pair of shoes.
And if you want to know how to spell it, it's Hunziker, Hunziger. There you go. Right, we move on to the next one. Feet lift. The habit is not common. This habit is not as common as some, but others have done it religiously by those who don't like travelling over bridges. Have you ever gone over a bridge and you lift your feet in the car when you're going over a bridge?
I've never done it, nor have I ever heard of it.
Well, people do it. People lift their feet when they're travelling over a bridge. That's a kind of weird one. Wedding cans, when you get married, people tie the cans on the back of the wedding
Now, this one's
car.
so common.
Yeah,
I
very
think
common.
It's been in movies, it's been in film, it's just everybody does it.
I didn't know it was to bless good fortune and luck in a marriage. I thought it was just to annoy them.
You know what? That's why you listen to Mike Brewer Behind the Wheel, because you'll learn.
Because you'll learn. You'll learn some stuff. Now, this one's interesting, and I want you to tell me a little bit. I've got a list here, but I want to get to the one that's exciting. Tell me about the $50 bills. There are, in NASCAR, you cannot pay a NASCAR driver with $50 bills. Why is that?
Apparently, this goes back to the 1930s, I heard. And what happened was there was a very famous racing driver who balled up his car during a race, and he was killed. He was tragically killed during the race. And when they took him out of the car, he had his prize money from the night before in $50 bills in his pocket.
Oh, dear.
And from that day on, drivers were like, we don't want $50 bills. Now, if you're a NASCAR driver, and there are some very famous NASCAR drivers that to this day, hey, I owe you $100. Give me a $100 bill or give me 20s. Don't give me 250s. I won't take them.
Wow. So you just can't. So you can't pay a NASCAR driver in $50 bills in any way.
No, it's just it's the same as. Did you know that peanuts still in the shell are not allowed in the pits at NASCAR?
No way.
It's unlucky.
No, that's rubbish.
No.
Seriously?
And they very rarely even sell them at the venues.
Why?
Yeah.
What's the logic behind that?
I have no idea. I have no idea where it comes from, but in the shells, peanuts are unlucky.
That's unbelievable.
If they're shelled, they're fine. But and what was so funny was I found a photo of a competing NASCAR that's currently out there, and it's green, and he's sponsored by a peanut company that sells.
Please tell me he's number 13. I'll be so happy.
No, he wasn't. But I thought, geez, does that guy go, oh, I'm sponsored by a shelled peanut company and my car's green. Woo!
Yeah. Got no chance, has he? No chance at all. Lewis Hamilton, he puts his gloves on in
I'm not familiar with him. Who's he?
He's a very, very well-known, quite good peddler of a car, is our Lewis. Nice Brit Brit man. I've met him several times. He's a great kid. He puts his gloves on in the pits, won't put them on outside the pits or anywhere else or in the motorhome. He has to put them on.
Not when he gets in the car. It's got to be in the pits.
In the pits, yep. He has to put his gloves on.
Now, that guy probably, I mean, for a guy like that to have superstitions, I mean, he makes a little bit of money every year, right?
He's the highest paid sportsman in the world, I do believe.
Wow.
I think he is the highest paid sportsman in the world. Most definitely the UK, but I think I read somewhere he gets more. What would be LeBron James? I would imagine is the highest paid sportsman in America.
Yeah,
I think he probably gets more than him.
I think by a long stretch. Didn't he sign some huge multi-year agreement for?
Yeah.
I mean, lots of money.
Yeah, lots
in the hundreds of millions,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, the guy flies around in a red private jet, so they don't come cheap, those things.
Well, mine's black. Isn't what color is yours? Green? British Racing Green?
Well, it's a little model that I've got on my desk. Some drivers eat the same thing before every race. Oh, that could be quite mind-numbing, especially, you know, if you're going to go for a motor car race once and, you know, when you're 16 and your mum makes you like a spotty dick pudding and you go, oh, that was nice. And then you get in the car, you race and you win and you think, it was because of the pudding. I must have it before every race. That would become tiresome, wouldn't it, after a while when you're, you know, 30 years into your racing career and you're still scoffing down spotty dick.
Sterling Marlin, a famous NASCAR driver again, before every race. Now get this. He eats a bologna and mayonnaise sandwich.
They don't.
A bologna and mayonnaise sandwich.
Does he really?
So you talk about something that's like, okay, I got to eat this because I'm not going to win. Yes, he does.
Really?
Bologna and mayonnaise.
That's nuts. Do you know, I do have one thing that I do. I don't know. It's not a superstition, but I've said this on TV before. I talk to cars.
I do too.
I talk to my car, and my car often answers back. It often talks back to me.
It talks back to you.
It does, yeah.
Does it give you advice?
It does give me advice. What I mean is that I've like to feel connected to a car. When I get into a car, me and the car are going to have this conversation. First time I get behind the wheel and we're going to drive up the road, this car's going to tell me all about itself. It's going to say how well it's worn, how well it's been used, how it feels at this time of its life, how it needs rescuing, what kind of rescuing it needs. And the car will chat to me. And I'll often sit in the car and say, I know, I can feel it, and don't worry, I'll get to it, and I can fix that bit. And I will have a conversation back with a car, and it may sound a bit weird, but I feel like I'm a car whisperer, and I do genuinely have conversations with cars. It may seem a bit crazy, but I love cars, and cars love me. And when I get in a car, I like to chat away as to how the car's behaving. And often, believe it or not, I can find out a lot about a car just by having a conversation with it.
Now, you do realize that that's Apple Play and that's Siri talking back to you,
Possibly,
right?
yes. Possibly. It could be. It has got that high mic voice.
But I'll agree with you because I'll give you a recent example. I got back in my car after driving the Ferrari for a week, and I told it, I said, hey, I know I've been hanging out with that sexy little Italian for a week, but don't break down. Don't get mad. Just be good.
I got it. I got the same in England, right? So I got I got Citroen SM, which is the most beautiful car. I know me and you have salivated over Citroen SMs when we've seen them here. And I've got this amazing little Porsche 912, right? This amazing little car at home. And it's kind of weird because I'm having these little love affairs with cars, okay? So when I'm at home, I actually apologised to my little Fraulein. So I'm standing in the garage going, I'm really sorry, my little Fraulein, my little German Fraulein. I'm going to take the French mistress out with the Italian temper, and I'm going to take her out for a run now, and vice versa. I've been back in the garage in my Citroen SM, and I've said I've loved every minute of our wonderful fiery relationship me and the Citroen have had, but now it's time for me to go back to my German Fraulein because she's the one that makes me smile and puts a big fun factor on my face. And so I do chat to them, and I tell my cars I apologise if I'm not driving one or the other. I kind of feel that they're alive.
Now I think all of us have had that conversation with a car at one time or another, and I would bet there's hardly anyone listening that hasn't had the conversation of just a little bit farther and we'll be to the gas station. Come on.
Of course.
You
We've
know,
all done it. We've all done it. So, question. We've got a question, a good one coming this week, haven't we?
We
give
do.
me the question, yes.
Oh, you want me to tell you
I
about
want you
that
to tell me
question?
about the
See, you
question.
put me on the spot like that. But I have a gentleman who got a hold of us, and he's from Canada, Mike. And he's a Canadian working here in the U.S. He's a pediatric surgeon in Texas.
Good man.
And he says that he's looking to buy a 911 SC.
Cool car.
And now I'm going to tell you the hardest thing about this question is the gentleman's name.
Go for it.
It is Kairos Panayidis.
There you go.
So I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but I'm not a surgeon.
No.
So
Clearly not. No.
But he's a Porsche guy, and he said that he loves all cars, though, and he's been watching and listening, and he really values your opinion and advice. Besides the rust and the bodywork, what do you think are the key items that he should look for when searching for a 911 SC?
Okay, so good car choice. Me and my wife have one ourselves. We got a 1982 SC, and I can tell you a lot about those cars. First and foremost, if you're going to go and buy a 911, just make sure the car is square on all four corners. I mean, that's evident. That's easy to do because 911s show themselves to any kind of accident damage. They show themselves up really easy. You can see it because a 911 is quite a curvy car. There's lots of curves, not many straight panels on a 911. So if at any point a car has been backed into a wall on the corner or it's been involved in any kind of accident, it shows. It will show. It's quite evident. So that's the first thing. Second thing is the floor underneath the car. So a 911 floor looks like a packing crate, if you like. It's got little square sections on it. If you look underneath the car and it's smooth, that means it's had a new floor. So therefore, if it's had a new floor, why? Car's been involved in something or had a rotted out floor. So then it's going to be rotted in the seals and you want to walk away from it. So check the floor. A good original floor is a good foundation to know if you've got a good car. But the big ticket items on 911s are not so much the body panels and the, replacing a ripped seat or a dodgy headliner or piece of carpet. The big ticket items is that flat six 3-litre engine on an SC and rebuilding that 915 gearbox because they are not weak spots on these cars. They're brilliant. They're bulletproof reliability. But once they get up to around that 100,000 miles, and let's face it, an SC, the car that he's talking about, is going to have had that kind of miles on it. It will want or would have had recently an engine rebuild, and it will require one. Engine rebuild on one of those cars, you're looking anywhere between $6,000-8,000 for a gearbox rebuild, $2,000 to $3,000. So you are looking at quite a bit of money on top of the purchase price of the car.
And on those, the gearbox, you'll know right away because they're sloshy.
They're sloshy, yeah. And what a really good car, funny enough, to go for is a slightly later car, 85 on. They had the 950 gearbox, right? So that's a much better gearbox.
From 85 on.
Yeah, 85 on. It was a might even get the early 84s, but the 950 gearbox was a later car, but the gearbox was so much better. It's spring-loaded 5-speed, so it's a much more durable gearbox. But the 915 gearbox, which is the one I've got in my car, is great as long as it's been rebuilt at least once in its life. So if you're buying one, just make sure you ask those questions. Say, has the engine been rebuilt or has the gearbox been rebuilt recently? Because if it hasn't, the chances are it will need doing at some point in the future. And as I say, they are the big ticket items. But I will promise you this. Me and my wife, we went and bought this little... We've got cars at home. We've got a few cars here. We went and bought this little 911 SC just to have something that's fun that we can drive backwards and forwards, little car shows in. And I will promise you, I've never smiled as hard as I have done behind the wheel of a car since I've had that one. It is a thrill and moment to own. It's torquey, it's powerful, it's guttural, it pushes you in the back of the seat. It is so sticky. It's like poop to a blanket. It really is that sticky. It rips your face off around every single bend. Little car feels alive. It really does feel alive under your fingertips. And I'm in love with this German Brewer line. She is amazing. And I urge you, go out and buy yourself one. buy one at the right price. SCs at the moment are still the most affordable of the 911s that are out there. But me and Brad can tell you through a lot of experience with what's been happening in the Porsche world recently. They are just about to go crazy and go straight through the roof because everything else is gone. All the early 911s have gone. 1962 to 1973 long-nose 911s, boom, done. That market has been swallowed up and eaten. I stood at an auction at the weekend, and there they go, going through making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the 911 SC is still an affordable car. It's a good car to get into, and I promise you that the prices are on the way up. Those cars. So good luck.
And wouldn't you say buy the nicest example that you can afford, right?
Absolutely, Brad. It's always my best advice. If you're going to go and see two cars, and one car is 30 grand, and another car is 35, but the 35 grand car is a much, much better car. Same mileage, same condition, looking wise, but a much, much nicer car because it's got, the leather's nice, the paintwork's nice, the carpets are good, it's nice and square. Always buy the most expensive car you can possibly afford because it will pay dividends in the end.
Now, let me ask you something else. What if he's looking at two 911 SCs?
Yep.
They're virtually the same price, virtually the same condition.
Yep.
Maintenance records, everything like that. But one is black.
Yep.
And the other one's kind of one of those, strange colors that they had. The baby blue or something like that. Now, is the baby blue rare so it could be more valuable in the future, or go for the safe color that everybody's going to like?
Yeah, I mean, black cars sell. Right, simple as
Exactly.
that, right? So black car's always going to sell. So it depends. It comes down to personal preference in that case. Does he want to buy a car to own and to flip in the future, or does he want a car for a personal preference? Me, personally, if they were the same car, I'd go for one of the primary colour cars because the primary colour cars are slightly odd and they just look different than any other 911 out there. There's that mustard colour that you've seen. There's in the SC, actually, they did a bronze colour.
Yeah.
Which, a 911 SE in bronze doesn't really look that appealing. But funny enough, every time you see one advertised, boom, it gets sold immediately. But yes, black is always going to be the default colour for one of those cars. They're going to sell quite easy. Silver, white always looks good. Guards red. My one's guards red. And that always looks really good as well. So, colour choice can be important. But Brad's right. Black sells.
Because there were a few in the 80s where they offered some amazing colors.
Green, orange.
Like the orange, I think they only made two that they shipped to the U.S. or something.
Yeah.
There's somewhere it's like one or two. And those cars in the future are the ones that are going to really go up.
Yeah, of course.
But like you said, if it's just to drive and enjoy, get the color you want.
Yeah, get the colour you want, buy the best car you could possibly afford. Make sure you listen to some of the advice. Look at that floor underneath, very, very important. Look at the front, what we call the belly pan, if you like, just at the front, up behind the front bumper. That's a notorious spot where they rust out. It's where the spare wheel sits, and they get a lot of water ingress into there because it's the front of the car that gets a lot of water flicks up underneath it. So check that area very carefully. Make sure there's no holes in it. But then saying that, even if there is a little bit of rust on a couple of, they're quite easy to get panels for as well. They're very. The good news about buying any kind of 911 is they are one of the most well supported classic cars out there. There are thousands of user groups, thousands of car clubs, thousands of shops selling Porsche parts, and you won't have trouble. Just keeping that thing, maintaining it, and keeping it on the road. But just remember the big ticket items. Engine and gearbox on those cars can run into tens of thousands of dollars or pounds if they haven't been rebuilt, and you're looking at 100,000 mile cars. So check those out first. Good question.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
It was a great question.
Makes me want to go out and buy a 911 SC.
So there you go. I think we've come at the end of our journey. Don't forget, if you want to go on to iTunes, give us a like. Give us a 5-star rating. Subscribe, please. It's very important you subscribe. And also give us a review. Tell us what you think of the podcast. Are you enjoying it? And me and Brad will choose out we'll throw them into a hat, and then we're going to pull a number out, a name out. I keep saying number today. We're going to pull a name out, and they're going to get a free pair of those Hunziger shoes. So there you go. George, you had a good run?
He did. We got to get him out of the car though before he does like a race driver.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we don't. And wheeze.
We don't want him to wee in the car.
Yeah, we don't want him in the car. He's been very, very quiet, George.
He's he's a car enthusiast. He just likes to drive.
I love it. I love the fact he's called George. It's great.
He's
Brad, thank you very much again for being my passenger today.
Well, thank you for bringing me along. And where can they find you online?
They can find me at Mike Brewer BTW. You can email me, actually, mikebrewerbtw@gmail.com. You can go to our website, mikebrewerbtw.com as well. You can find us on social media, Mike Brewer BTW, which means behind the wheel, obviously, on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook. Please keep the questions coming in. Please keep the support coming in from the podcast. And if you see it out there on social media, retweet it as well.
Absolutely.
Share it amongst your friends. That'll really help. If you keep doing it, me and Brad will keep making it. And we like to make it.
Keep us motivated.
Keep us motivated.
Hey, and be sure to go to Mike Brewer Behind the Wheel or MikeBrewerBTW.com, and we'll be posting next week a big photo gallery of images of the Ferrari so that you can see what it looks like and check out all the details of it. And you can find me online at on Instagram at bonspeedBrad.
Cool. Right. Let's go and get some lunch, shall we?
Oh, I'm hungry. I'm glad you said that, everybody.
See you later. Bye-bye.
This show brought to you in part by Bond Speed Wheels. Bond Speed Wheels, machined in America for cars, trucks, hot rods, and exotics. We make wheels for your lifestyle. Find us at bonspeedwheels.com.
If you need to get in touch with me or Brad, you can do. Ask us any question you like about motoring issues or a motoring related thing. If you've got something that you want to do to your car and you don't know how to do it, you want to sell your car, you want to advertise your car, you want to buy a car and you need some advice, then please reach out to us. You can find us on Twitter at Mike Brewer BTW. See what we did there? Genius.
Is that for Behind the Wheel?
It is. There you go.
Wow, how did you come up with that?
It's so good, isn't it? And we'll see you all next week.
This has been a Bonspeed Media production from Circle B Studios. If you like this show, also listen to Shift and Steer, Man Seeks Adventure, and Dixon's Wild Ride. You can subscribe to them on iTunes or visit their websites. If you'd like to reach Bonspeed Media, you can do so at bonspeedmedia@gmail.com.